Hello students, so the talk of the town because of the article given by the Ken, CAs versus MBAs, and that is what we'll be discussing. Please remember, this single image that is doing rounds on social media is only one part of the report. There are a few other things also as a part of the report. And the idea of this video that I'm doing it currently live with you guys is not to prove that CA is better than MBA or MBA is better than CA. There are few things which we must be aware of before we get carried away by these kind of reports. Okay. So we'll talk about salary, we'll talk about cost, we'll talk about experiences, we'll talk about whether you should do an MBA or not. I will give you examples of where CAs have done MBAs along with it, and they're doing really good in life. I have a lot of them in my circle. In fact, at one point of time, I had also written CAT, but I didn't get selected in any of IIM, A, B, or C. I was shortlisted for IIM Koiko, IIM Shillong actually at that point of time, new IIM. Right. So there are a lot of things to discuss about, and this is more of a candid chat. And nowhere I am trying to say that okay, this is better or that is better. Each one has its pros, its cons, and each one has a perspective. I'll also take you through other aspects what the Ken has highlighted, and I feel largely that it is more towards bashing ICAI than talking about why MBAs are better than CAs and why the comparison at all. Right. One more thing, before I get into the details of discussion, one important factor which we tend to ignore is the cost. Okay, at one point in time, I also wanted to do an MBA, but then financial constraint is a very important thing. I dropped science. I didn't take up engineering or medicals because of the finance thing. Okay, so as a curriculum, this is something which suits someone where you have financial resource constraint. Of course, some may argue that why don't you take a loan and then why don't you pursue the courses, but then those are burden, right? So that is one important thing which you have to keep in mind before getting carried away by these numbers. There are other factors also. So first, the thing that is going around CA versus MBA, this specific chart that is circulating on the social media, part of the Ken report. Now it compares what it says CAs versus MBAs. Okay, so far so good. And they say IIM A, B, and C, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta. Now first thing is, it's a fact. Okay, these institutes do not provide MBA degrees. You don't get an MBA degree. You get postgraduate diploma in management equivalent to an MBA. I'm not saying they are not MBAs or they are less than MBA or more than MBA. Okay, title is something else, and the analysis or the comparison is completely misleading. That's the first thing. Second, we talked about the top ranking institutes, and here you would see that about 80% of the candidates, 70 to 80% of the candidates are from engineering background, who have already done engineering, have already worked somewhere. I'm not sure of the number of people who have already worked, but a lot of them have already worked somewhere. They have already have some work experience, and then they are coming up and they are taking up this job. And then the comparison is what ICAI and these three, and only the campus placement. Now for CAs, if 10,200 have appeared or they have registered for placement and only 3,500 got selected, doesn't mean that 6,500 are unemployed. A lot of them get better campus opportunities, better placement opportunities outside of the campus. So companies like HUL, PNG, ITC, all of these companies, they do take CAs outside of the campus, which is not captured as a part of this report. That's the first thing. Second thing is, now here they are saying, see, students place data is not there. Student place 70. Where are you comparing 70 and 3,000? So that comparison is very different. And this set of students who come from IIM, A, B, and C, they have experience. They are from variety of backgrounds. They may be in marketing, they may be in finance, they may be in some other function. It is not only related, or it is not only restricted to finance. So if you have to compare a CA, you have to compare with a finance, and you cannot only take the top 3 institutes in the country and say okay, these are better and that is better, right? So you should actually look out of even if you take top 20 institutes, if you take out look at beyond the top 20 institutes, then you will realize that it is equally bad in terms of in fact more bad in terms of getting placed and getting decent salary. And whenever this discussion comes around salary, right, when we say salary or when we say package, salary depends on qualification. This is there, this is important, but apart from qualification, it depends on your skills, your communication skills, your decision making skills. So as an individual, if you have the skill set, whether an MBA or not an MBA, you will get a good salary. Initially you may get a lower salary, but over a period of time you will get a better salary. That is the second thing. And it also depends on experience and the field that you choose. Now Someone who may complete their medical, if they are doctors, they may earn better. Even in doctors, if you are specialized in, let us say for example, blood related disease, you will have better salary. If you are in dental profession, you may not have great salaries. Okay, if you are a general physician, you will not have great salaries. So different fields will offer you different salaries. Your experience matters, your skill sets matters, your qualification matters. Now, while deciding your career path, are you only looking at salary, or are you also looking back at your own ability, your own constraints, your own circumstances, and then taking a decision? Not everybody gets into IIMs. I wrote CAT, I got 98.5 percentile. I was not shortlisted by IIM ABC. Okay, of course, the reason was, my English, I got only 80 percentile in English, and hence there was no shortlisting. But then, out of over lakhs and lakhs of students, right? Ultimately, 1 or 2% of them get through to IIMs, and not all IIMs will give you the same kind of salary. Okay, so they have taken highest salary, average salary, and all of that. You need to also look at median salary. What is the median salary? Okay, and across IIMs, and add other MBA institutes, and then you will realize salary is, for CAs, if you are a qualified chartered accountant, even if you don't get a job, there is an option to start a practice, there is an option to do a lot of freelancing. And I have in my circles to, my friends practicing, doing well, my friends in job doing well. Some of them are already CFOs. Okay, CFOs of companies, and at very senior positions. It depends on these parameters. So just don't take the qualification and decide that, okay, if I do an MBA, then okay, right from day one itself I'll be the CFO of a company. That doesn't work out. That is one aspect. And cost. Not everybody today, if you have to do MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, or Calcutta, PGDM actually, are you willing to spend 20 to 25 lakhs for 2 years? Do you have the ability? Does your family support it? Okay, so it's very easy to say, oh, you did an MBA and then hence there's a higher salary. Then there is this cost. Sir, we can recover this cost in 3 years, 4 years time. Yes, you can recover, but everybody cannot recover. Okay, so you may think that by investing 25 lakhs, over a period of 2 years, we will get back the money in 2 to 3 years time. It's possible, but are you willing to take the risk? And out of those lakhs of students who write, can you be in those top 2 to 3,000 who will get placed or who will get into IIMs? Not everybody gets into. Okay, it's easy to bring out statistics like this and say, okay, placement is better, and hence we would prefer to do an prefer to do an MBA over CA. But then look at experiences, look at the breakup, look at how much does a finance professional earn. Again, not everyone is good at marketing. Okay, if let's say if you ask me, I'll not be great at sales or marketing because that is not my core area. So you have to see what is your proficiency and accordingly take a call. Right now, does MBA help, or is MBA better than CA? Yes, MBAs have an edge over when you talk about their communication, when you talk about their presentation, when you talk about the way they learn, the business case studies. All of these are better when you look at MBAs from top institutes as compared to CAs. Okay, so a lot of thing happens around case study based. A lot of things are done using case studies. They give you real life business scenarios, and you have to take a decision. You have a lot of great business understanding. That is absolutely there, no doubt about it. But then please understand objective. CAs traditionally, when they when the act was passed, and CAs, the way the course curriculum has been structured, the fundamental logic or the reason for this course to be in existence is for the statutory compliance purposes. Over a period of time, what companies have realized is CAs are not only good at audits, they are also good at finances, they are also good at business decisions, and hence the scope expanded. Now, a lot of argument is that CAs don't get into investment banking. All MBAs also will not get into investment banking. It is not that just because you are an MBA, you would get into investment banking. In fact, Sriram, our my co-founder here at Indigo Learn, he finished his CA. After CA, he also did ISB and he also completed CFA. Now, sir, why did he do CFA? He wanted to get into investment related thing. He was already into ISB, but then he realized that if he adds CFA to his resume, it becomes easier. You are ahead of the crowd. So I could have said no, just by doing ISB, he would have been at a better place. But even in ISB, because he had CFA, his chance of getting shortlisted was higher. So that is how you have to look at the overall package and not only look at the salary component. If you do you want to build a career in investment banking? If the answer is yes, start pursuing CA, then start CFA also. Why don't you want to get this additional qualification which will help you in the investment decision making, which will help you to build your career in capital markets, which will help you to build your career in stock markets? Why don't you do that? Because please understand, a lot of CA is on compliance part. In fact, if I compare CA with international courses, for example, ACCA or CPA, if you compare these two courses also,
it's 11 o'clock.
There is a limited focus on compliance in both ACCA and CPA. There is a lot of focus on finance, investment decisions, and all of that. You also learn them as a part of CA. It is not that you don't learn it as a part of CA, but then here compliance focus is there. Here you don't have much of compliance focus, because ultimately if you are a chartered accountant in India, you have the authority, if you are practicing, to sign financials of companies, and accordingly the course has been designed. So is the course good, course bad? Can we make improvements in the course? Yes, we can make improvements in the course. We can drop out topics which are not relevant. We can introduce concepts. We can introduce things which are more relevant in the given scenario. In today's days, for example, who does journal entry, ledger posting and all of that? Everything is automated. Everything is computerized. So in such scenarios, what is the point in going and learning those things which are not relevant in real life? So those changes are required. I am not saying no, but then comparing CA and an MBA only on the basis of salary or number of student enrollments is not fair. Now, apart from this, I also have the access to the report, and some of the facts which I want to read out to you what they have mentioned. I cannot share it because of course it is a paid subscription, and I don't think I have the right to use it over and share it over to you to the screen. But then just a moment. Okay, so now one thing that they have done, or what they have told, is 34 MBA holders occupying these positions in Nifty 100 companies. So basically, what they're saying is, out of 100 Nifty 100 companies, 34 are MBAs. Okay, so they have not given a breakup of what balance 66 are. There could be a lot of cases where you have CA plus MBA. There could be cases where a lot of them are CAs. And in fact, in BPCL where I work, we had a CA who was the chairperson of the company, CEO of the company. Okay, that is also there. So you can't just make a blanket statement saying that okay, you are an MBA, so hence you are better CFO as compared to a CA. In fact, the level of depth that you get into finances that is needed for CFO, I think CA provides better than MBA, because you actually go into the depth. Yes, we need additional skill set. We need business skills. We need business vision. That can be learned as an individual also, right? So that is one fact they have mentioned. Then now the other thing they have said is 30% decline in the past decade in the total registration. So now what they have done is they have compared 2022 and 2013. Now please remember, 2013 was a CPT era where you used to have a lot of fresh registrations in CPT. After switching over to foundation, only serious students have started getting into the curriculum. So they have also mentioned that they have reached out to the president of ICAI regarding drop in numbers, and they have actually said that the numbers have increased. But then you cannot compare earlier regime with this, because in fact prior to CPT being launched, there used to be only 40 to 50,000 registrations into the CA course, right? Then the other thing they mention is the decline in CA final courses in 1920, 2021. But please remember, in 1920 and 2021 there was this COVID pandemic which hit, because of which exams were postponed, and of course there will be a distortion. Overall, the numbers have been stable as you look at the overall number of registrations that is coming into. Now, one another thing that is being made up, and this is something which is really interesting, is that they have spoken to few chartered accountants, all including faculties and other members. They have mentioned that they have spoken to six, and there is a discussion about problems with ICAI. For example, paper correction. Yes, there is an issue. Paper correction, yes, there is a huge issue in paper correction when some of the students do not get the marks that they deserve, where even by writing whatever is given in the material you don't get marks. Yes, this is a problem, this is definitely a problem, but then this has nothing to do with the employability. Okay, there may be cases where few students who pass just by learning things by heart, but largely if you look at the population, this has a very little impact on the employability. This has an issue where deserving candidates are not passing. That is a problem. That problem is there, which has to be addressed to. But this does not mean that the salaries are low because of this. So see, the way the article has been structured is they have taken multiple bits. They started with salaries. They started with the CFOs and all of that, and then they move on to the problems with ICAI, the problem with curriculum of ICAI, the problem with the paper correction pattern. Okay, now are these problem? Yes, these are problems. Do these problem exist? Yes, they are existing. They existed earlier also, right? Now the thing is, these needs changes. I am not saying no, this definitely needs changes. If these are changed, things will improve. But then these are only, if you start saying that because of this the salary are lower, that is a far-fetched conclusion that the article is trying to draw. Then the article also talks about one more aspect, like overseas accounting qualifications such as ACCA, CIMA or CFA are gaining more popularity. Now if you ask me, by doing CIMA, I have not seen people getting no job. ACCA, yes, definitely it is catching up because enough number of CAs are not available. Big fours are hiring ACCA because CAs are not available. Their articles are not available. That is why they are hiring. Okay, there is demand, and things like ACCA and CFA and CPA, they have global recognition also. So that is also not that part also I'm not disputing. But then there is enough demand in the market to absorb CAs, right? Of course, everybody will not get 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs of salary. I'm not saying that, but then we have to look at the wider spectrum and not at a narrow spectrum of IIM A, B, and C. Then they also talk about many businesses and professions have changed, and CA has not kept with the changes and still continues to operate through articleship, which is source of cheap and tame labor from some practitioners. Now, is articleship a source of cheap workforce? You can argue that yes, they are available at a very less cost, and a lot of students and lot of members also say that this is a source of cheap labor, cheap labor, cheap labor. But then there are internships, what MBAs and all do, that they are also not paid well. And if you want to earn well at the time of articleship, you must be able to put that amount of effort, get placed in some mid-size or large size firm, and you will be paid decently. I am not saying that you will be paid at par with let's say 9 lakhs or 10 lakhs of salary at the time of articleship, because you have not yet got the qualification. But then if you join, let's say, a medium-sized firm, also I know firms here paying 7 to 10,000, which are medium size, and about 15 to 20,000, which are large size firms. So that is there. But then now this language, if I see cheap and tame labor at a professional journalism, this does not sound right, because now here you are targeting the institute and you are targeting the way the institute operates and not addressing why the salaries are low. Now, just because there is articleship where you get articles working at a very low stipend, that does not mean that your ultimate salary will start getting lower. Okay, I worked as a articled assistant. I was drawing only 1,000 rupees per month, right? And despite that, I was placed at the best salary in the campus placement at that point of time. In fact, I know friends, I know my seniors who were MBAs from top colleges. My salary was better than that at that point in time, right? So this discussion we can keep on continuing to have. But then The way the article is drafted, I feel, is directly targeting the institute, and let us see what will be the institute response on this. Then there is one more reference to one student, and he says that CA designation was not alone, and then he went ahead and he completed his MBA from Premium Institute, and that is good. I'm not saying that is bad. If you complete an MBA from a premier institute, then definitely you will have more opportunities. So my friend who was also AIR2 when we wrote CA in 2009, he worked in a company in South Africa, and then he came back and he finished his MBA from IIM Calcutta, and then he got placed in the investment banking and all of those domains. That is absolutely fine. Nobody is stopping, right? But then whenever I speak to him, he says that, Suraj, the level of depth of knowledge that you get in CA, you will not get in MBAs. But then when you get the brand of IIM Calcutta, then you are acceptable everywhere. That is of course there, and I think institute has a greater role here to play when they have to build the brand. They have to build the brand of the qualification. They have to ensure that the qualification is more recognized and more accepted globally and also domestically. So that part where the CA Institute has to take active part into fixing is very important, because it is not only about members in practice, it is also about members in industry, and the effort there is not very much coordinated and structured. I think that is where CA should work in CA should work on. Then another thing what I wanted to share regarding placements and all, we have already discussed, and there is a talk about they are opting other profiles because CAs are not getting good salaries. See, it depends on individual ability, right? If they have the ability, if they have the skill set with the CA qualification also, you will earn a decent salary. So that part is, I think, extreme, drawn to the extreme in this particular article. Then they talk about CAs not getting involved into bureaucracy and tax reforms and all of that. Partly it is true. That is then they talk about some students who have taken up CPA because they didn't want uncertainty and all of that is fine. But then again, to do a CPA you need to spend 5 lakhs. Okay, it's not a small sum. If you have, and if you believe that by doing CPA you have better opportunities, you can go ahead and do it. So broadly that is what is covered, same thing again and again. So first part of it talks about MBA versus CA, but 60-70% of it is targeting CAs and telling where the courses are bad. Now coming to students, what you should be focusing on. If you are pursuing CA and if you are doing good, you continue to pursue. Sir, what will happen if I get more if I do an additional degree? Of course, yes. I completed my CA. I also finished my CIMA. Okay, this gave me a very different perspective of the way you should look at businesses. Then I told you cases of my friend CA plus IIM Calcutta. Then you have CA plus CFA plus ISB. So examples are there. Do you have the time? Do you have the money? Do you have the resources? And do you have the ability to complete these? Okay, it's very easy to say you complete CFA and then you earn this salary. Is it so easy to finish up CFA? So these are the things you have to keep in mind, rather than saying I will do MBA because I get more salary, or I'll do an MBA because I'll get more earning. Of course, earning is one part, but then skills, resources, time, and ability, these are also important. Okay, otherwise if you see whenever you see doctors and all, you would see, oh, this doctor is charging 500 for 2 minutes examination. But do you have the ability to spend that 5 years of time cracking the exams and completing the course? That is also important, right? So don't get carried away. The future is good. Okay, there are problems which needs to be addressed. Even with these problems, it is really decent for students to build a career by completing their CA course, right? That is the one thing. And I would expect some follow-up articles from Ken where they talk about larger MBA, what happens, larger engineering things, what happen, right? Just picking up IIM A, B, and C and just putting it against CA is, I think, slightly far-fetched. Problems are there, things can be improved, and I hope they work towards those problems.